Scotland promised to bring the thunder, but they were swept away by an Irish storm. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Final whistle is just gone, and I'm still trembling because of that performance by Ireland. I'm honestly not used to being optimistic about Ireland at Rugby World Cups, and I'm getting a bit frightened by it. But hopefully it's just something I'm going to have to live with for, more than just the next week. But, right from the start of this, had goosebumps at the anthems. There were so many Irish in the crowd, but the Scottish in the crowd as well. They made their voice heard too, and it was just such a fantastic atmosphere. And it's something we've seen throughout the tournament. And we're seeing fans from Ireland and England and Scotland, etc., all travelling in big numbers, and then the locals as well are just getting in on things too, and just making it so good. From the game itself, though, Ireland, they're on the attack from the kickoff. Scotland, they're pressuring them at the breakdown. They almost turn it over a couple of times. But Ireland doing something that we don't normally see them do early on in games, and they're actually resourcing the ruck a bit more than normal to secure that ball. So they probably knew Scotland were going to target their ball early, and they decided, okay, we're going to put players in and make sure we actually get the ball. They then put it through the hands. Ringrose goes through a gap, gives on to Hanses, and then Lowe goes over in the corner. Sexton, he misses the conversion, but it's 5-0 to Ireland, and it's only like a minute gone on the clock. Scotland then come forward, finding some space. Russell, he looks like he's on it tonight, honestly. And that's something about this performance by Ireland as well. It wasn't like Russell had a terrible game or anything like that. He really was on it at early doors. You have a high tack from Ireland. Scotland can't make anything of the advantage, so we go back for the pen. They go to the corner from that. The fact that they knew they had to chase a bonus point in this was a factor in that, because I'm almost certain that in, let's say, a Six Nation game, that would have been kicked to the post to make a 5-3, and then work it up and try and get another penalty to sneak ahead. So definitely a factor there. I feel that they were going for those 4 tries. Tuipulotu and Ritchie then with good carries. Scotland attacking from the line out. They then go back to the blind side with Van der Merwe. Doris, though, he gets over the ball and wins the turnover penalty. Really good defence from him. Thought he had a great game, but there were so many, like the entire Irish back row I thought were great. Peter O'Mahony on his 100 cap, amazing. Van der Fleer, I felt like he's actually arrived in the World Cup now, and actually this season too, because he's been a bit kind of subdued, but this is a great game from him. But Ireland then, they go up the line for the penalty. Sheehan hits Peter O'Mahony in the line out. No malfunctions for the Irish line out tonight, thankfully. But then they do knock it on as they try and set up a ruck. Scotland then win a penalty at the scrum. Furlong going to ground. Russell kicks this one to the corner, but Peter O'Mahony comes up trumps again, steals a line out. But then Scotland do get another line out because he kind of taps it back on his own side, goes over the line. Ireland defend them all well as Scotland set it up. Scotland decide to go wide. Lowe goes off his feet. Penalty to Scotland. And Scotland, they really are putting on the pressure now. They go back to the corner. Ireland defend them all well again. Then they push Scotland back to the edge of the 22. Scotland go through about 20 phases. Ireland holding them. Crucially not conceding penalties. Tuipulotu carrying well for Scotland. Smith also having an impact. He's on for Kinghorn, who Scotland lost early on. There's a lot of injuries from both sides on this one. Ferguson then carries, and Ireland force a knock-on. I don't know whether it's from him or just someone around him, but a knock-on there. And it really is intense. Ireland, though, I feel like they need an exit because, defence has been good, but you can only soak up so much pressure and you need to relieve it somehow. Ireland then win a penalty at the scrum. Ferguson going to ground in this one. They come forward, but Scotland, they're going up really hard in defence. They then force a knock-on. Great work from Gilchrist in there. Keenan then flirts with the touchline as he catches a long kick. I thought he actually might have touched the line, but there was a review and the TMO said it wasn't clear and obvious. Then James Lowe comes up with just a monster kick into the up to about the edge of the Scotland 22, I think. Ireland then turned the ball over at the line out. Sexton, he puts Peter Manny through a hole in the Scotland 22, getting close to the line, offloads to Hansen, but he can't quite grasp it under a great tackle from Russell. Russell did really well on defence on that one. Scotland then lose their captain, Jamie Ritchie, and he's been excellent for Scotland this year through the World Cup as well. He's really is a big loss. He's really this season I felt like with the captaincy but also just his general play, he stood up for Scotland, and having him missing not good for them, and hopefully he's not out for too long. And he's such a great player to watch as well. I've seen him seen him all throughout the year, whether it's in European games or for Scotland or wherever. Like he's been excellent. Ireland, though, at this stage now, they're beginning to set the tempo of the game, with and without the ball as well, and it feels like they're building up to another score. As I'm thinking that, though, Scotland do really well to turn the ball over. Great work from Darge, and there's almost a brilliant 50-22 from Russell, and the game is just on the knife edge at this stage. Peter Manny, he steals another line out. Ireland doing to Scotland what South Africa did to Ireland, early on in their meeting. And Peter Manny, though, he's pulling out all the stops for that 100 cap. Gary Ringrose now for Ireland, he's out playing on the wing. Hansen is in the blood bin. I think he came back on and had to go back off. Puts in a great kick, but it's really well covered by Ali Price. McCluskey, Sexton and Aki then combine well to get Ringrose through a gap. He passes out of the tackle to Keenan and he goes over in the corner. Sexton lands the touchline conversion. It's 12-0. Ireland then come again. They're battering away at that Scottish line. Ian Henderson, he goes over to score. Great work from Ireland there. And I feel like Scotland, they need to find something soon or this game is just going to get completely away from them. Sexton makes it 19-0 with the conversion. Ireland then winning penalties close to the Scottish line, and they're looking for that bonus point try. Sheehan, he taps one of the penalties, goes close, and again on a subsequent carry gets close to the line, goes out to the backs end. We have a kind of a loopy pass from Sexton because there's players coming up into the passing channel, but he gets it to Keenan. Keenan does really well to hold it, and then momentum takes him over the line. Duhan van der Merwe almost saved the try as well with a really good tackle. Sexton converts this one for 26-0, and that was our halftime score. Ireland then lose James Lowe at halftime. He got a finger in the eye from Byrne. Just as Byrne was coming in to clean out, towards the end of the half. Gibson Park is now playing on the wing. Conor Murray is in at 9. So Ireland now have Ringrose on one wing and Gibson Park on the other. We then have just a round of handbags. Smith, he ends up going to the bin because he basically started it by a trip on Sexton, and then there's a big pile up, the usual crap. Ireland then come looking for more points. Gibson Park goes close on the right wing, and then he pops up on the left wing to put Sheehan over in the opposite corner. Great work from Aki, Byrne and Van der Fleer in the build up to that try. Sexton missing the conversion, but it's 31-0. He's then off for Crowley as Ireland are thinking, protecting players for that. It's not potential anymore, that quarter final against New Zealand. And there's a lot of players now that we're going to be sweating over during the week, so getting him off was a good idea. Scotland come forward now. Some decent play. Tuipulotu almost finds Van der Merwe with an offload, but he can't hold on to it. I thought Tuipulotu was excellent tonight for Scotland. And Jones wasn't bad either. Yeah, shut up, phone. Jones wasn't bad either in that midfield. It was just that Ireland were at times just on another level. But there were still really good performances for Scotland. Don't let the scoreline kind of trick you into thinking that they were all terrible. They weren't. Scotland then, they win a penalty, but Russell does miss touch with this one, and that kind of sums up Scotland's night. Like that, just those little things not going their way at the right time, and then it just added up, and then suddenly Ireland are that far ahead. But he then puts in an amazing 50-22. Scotland in a decent attacking position. Now both teams have got a scrum half on the wing, because Horn has to come on to replace Darcy Graham. He hobbled off, so again, hopefully he's not out for too long. Both teams losing so many to injuries in this game. Scotland then pounding away to the line. They don't get over, but Kelleher was offside, penalty to Scotland. But then McCluskey, he forces a knock on as Scotland, tried to take advantage of that, and it's a scrum to Ireland. Ireland kick clear, and then Kelleher steals the ball at the breakdown. Ireland get back on the attack again. They win penalty advantage, but they don't need it, because Crowley puts in the beaut of a cross kick over to Ringrose. He goes over in the corner. Crowley, he hits the upright with the conversion. It's 36-0. Scotland then finally get a score. We have a lovely step from Russell at the start. He just went around Ringrose is shooting up. Dempsey then carries well. Tuipulotu, he puts Ashman over to score. So Tuipulotu did really well. Got on the outside of Henderson, who shot up, and then just stuck that last defender, and a lovely little pass out to Ashman. Really well worked try. Russell converts this one for 36-7. Scotland then, they go over again like a minute later. Jones combines with Tuipulotu. He breaks. Space is opening up now. He puts Price over to score, converted for 36-14. Ireland then threatening Scotland's line. The clock is ticking down into the last minute. Kelleher taps and goes from a penalty. Kilcoyne then carries on. Beelum goes over. Looks like he scored, but the team always spotted a knock on in the build-up. Scrum to Scotland to finish the game. They try to run it from their own line, but Van der Merwe does well to get to halfway, but then there's a knock on. Ireland get the ball. They get it off the pitch. 36-14 is our final score. So first of all, let me talk about Scotland. So, there were times in that game where, at that period where Ireland defended so well, if they had to get over to score, or I think that if they hadn't have been chasing a bonus point win, then taking the points from the penalties early on, they probably would have built a bit of a lead, because Ireland were under so much pressure, and a lot of the penalties that they're giving away were fairly kickable as well. So, that definitely had a factor in it. Then Ireland are just so clinical when they get into your 22. More often than not, they're coming away with a try, and that's so hard for teams. You put in so much effort in your own attack, and then it doesn't come off, and then Ireland go down the other end, and suddenly they have another score, and then the mountain you've got to climb is a little bit higher. And Scotland, they kept on going, they kept plugging away. They obviously reached a point in the game where they knew, like, even that game against England, was that Wembley? Why do I think it was at Wembley? And not Twickenham, but the one where it was 31-0 down, to come back to 31 all. Actually, then it was 38 all in the finish. Like, I was still thinking of that in my mind, that Scotland have the ability to come back from this. They just need, and it showed with the tries they got as well. 2 tries in a minute. Like, if Ireland hadn't have been that far ahead, it would have been, as Alex Ferguson used to say, squeaky bum time for Ireland. So, Scotland, they're not that far. My phone, seriously, it's people saying Ireland are doing great, which is great, but maybe leave it for a minute or two. But they're not that far off, and it reminds me of Ireland teams in the past where we went to Rugby World Cups and we thought, this is our year. We're finally going to make that semi-final, and we're well prepared. It's the best squad we've ever put together, and we go there and it doesn't happen for us. But all of that hurt. It helped Ireland in the end, because we built a system where we have to look at ourselves seriously and work out what's going wrong and what do we need to do to produce players who can actually make it to a semi-final. We haven't got there yet either, so don't take any tips from me in terms of how to solve Scotland, because Ireland shouldn't be giving anybody tips until they can actually get into a semi-final. But it seems like a similar journey is what I'm saying for Scotland. And like, these guys have so much potential, and it just feels like there's just a couple of pieces of the puzzle missing for them. And then, they're not just going to be putting in good performances. They're going to be, in the hunt for the Six Nations title, stuff like that. And then, really, getting to quarterfinals or maybe semi-finals of Rugby World Cups, etc. So, if you're a Scotland fan, don't be disheartened by this. I know it sucks. I've been there, and I might be there next weekend, which I'm really dreading already. But if you're a Scotland fan, like, there is light at the end of the tunnel, because it's not that you're a bad team. It's just that, today you came across, a team who are at the height of their powers at the minute. And, and again, that stupid draw for the Rugby World Cup. I'm so annoyed about that, because I want the Scotland team to still be in this tournament, because I think they're better than any of the teams on the other side of the draw. And I'm really annoyed about that. But let's talk about Ireland. Great performances all across the pitch. I love the fact that we can now, whatever the scoreline, right? The fact that Crowley can come on for Sexton so early in the game. And again, if it was a tight game, I'm not actually afraid of Crowley coming on. Last Rugby World Cup, if Sexton was going off, I was bricking it, honestly, because not that the guys behind him were like terrible players. Like, the two decent backup 10s that we had. It's just that the Ireland team were just set up around Johnny Sexton, and Carty, he had some decent games, but it just wasn't the same. But now I think Crowley, and then let's not forget Byrne as well. Ross Byrne did such a great job in the Six Nations. Either of them coming on, I feel much more comfortable with that happening now. But scrum was better for Ireland. Line-out was better. They really protected the ball at the breakdown as well. The backs, combinations, and then the forwards with the soft hands, and it was just so good. Like, and it's one of those ones where I'm looking forward, because I know that Squidge Rugby is going to do a piece on this and take the piss out of Johnny Sexton's name and pretend that he hates Ireland. But I'm looking forward to that, to seeing how he pulls apart what Ireland were actually doing, because it was so good. Just that movement, and it's so intricate, but the players, everybody knows exactly where they need to be, and they know that, if the ball gets to you, well, then you're the carrier. It's not just a case of, well, I'm just running this dummy line and I'm not going to get the ball. It's, you have to be available to get the ball, and if you get it, you've got to do your bit, and they're all able to do that, and it's so good. But listen, I'm overexcited now, so I'm going to shut up. But Ireland, excellent performance from them. Commiserations to Scotland. You will rise again in the future, but now Ireland on to the quarterfinals.